It was tough, especially on me, because I was at the top of one sport. Once you get to the next sport or career, I was on the bottom.
Charlie Ward Jr., born October 12, 1970. Interesting to describe Charlie Ward's sports story is an understatement. For example, he was told he was too short for one sport, but great size for another with even taller competition. At the same time, one sport shunning him actually gave him enough juice on that side that, in my opinion, heavily influenced the NBA's want to make history and draft the hottest all-around athlete in college sports in '94, a two-time ACC Player of the Year and Athlete of the Year, Davey Obrien, Sullivan, Johnny Unitas, Walter Camp, and Chic Harley Award for Player of the Year. Not to mention, and how can it be forgotten, his Heisman Trophy win in '93. He literally won every award he was eligible for as a senior and quarterback, becoming the first and only college football player to win a national championship, the Heisman, and play in the NBA. A feat that's probably unreachable at this point, and Charlie Ward still has that proudly on his resume forever. Rightfully so, because Charlie Ward was nice on the football field. To this day, I think he would have been a much better professional football player than basketball, and in college it wasn't even close. Both sports helped the other in ways, but him mixing his basketball instincts, footwork, lateral and vertical athleticism on a football field made him a nightmare when he finally found his groove. On top of that, he was equally as good in the pocket as on the move. As a senior, completing 69.5% of his passes, that's better than any season Patrick Mahomes ever had on that level. To think he spent half the time developing his mind, body, and skills to play full college basketball seasons as well, and well enough to be taken in the first round of the NBA draft, becoming the starting point guard on a team that went to the NBA Finals and played over 10 years in the league, makes it difficult to see where a journey like that could have gone any better. But there's always room for improvement without taking away from the achievements of a player that's earned the respect of being called a great athlete. No, Charlie Ward didn't go on to star in the NFL. Instead, he joined a short list of Heisman Trophy winners never to play in that league. I guess 11 seasons in the NBA would have to do. A great journey that, for these reasons, dare I say, could have been better. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man.
And it was a tough transition just mentally, trying to work through all those different emotions and putting the time in.
Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Charlie Ward was a 6'2" point guard and quarterback from Thomasville, Georgia that's always known himself to enjoy multiple sports throughout the year, like most kids do in their neighborhood streets and backyards. Difference is, Ward never stopped competing at a high level in both football and basketball through middle school and high school, and was fortunate enough to have coaches, even on the college level, that allowed him to do so. For him, he says the transition from sports was difficult as far as being in the right shape for that sport, but his passion for each drove him to continue. He attended Florida State, where he struggled to find his footing in the first 2 years, but when he did as a junior on the football field, he was something special to see. He was the first quarterback I can remember that played just as well scrambling as he did in the pocket. He led his team to a football national championship in his senior year, with all the accolades and stats to be the next great NFL quarterback. Stunt number 1, the wrong era.
Came down to job opportunity. I didn't get an opportunity to play in the NFL.
Right away, when you dig into Charlie Ward's story, you notice how much better fitted and, more importantly, how better he'd be received in football of today's era. After a stellar college football career, especially his senior season that made him the most decorated college athlete maybe of all time, he was still considered by NFL GMs, scouts, and coaches in '93 to be too small to be taken in the first round of the draft. Looking at where football has come, Quarterbacks much shorter than him have not only been drafted and had great success on the field and contractually, but even be taken number one. The difference nearly 20-30 years can make. From Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel to Kyler Murray, all a much bigger NFL disadvantage in stature, but make up for it in different ways, and thankfully the NFL finally realizes that. Unfortunate for Charlie Ward, because 30 years ago, at an even bigger size, better vision, more decorated, and a winner, he still couldn't receive a first-round guarantee, eventually going undrafted in the '93 NFL Draft, making it known he didn't want to handle the rigors of professional football without a guarantee that him risking his health and possibly life on the field was not worth it, and also because the NFL thought he was too small and not committed to playing football. After his senior football season was over, he didn't take the year off and prepared for the NFL Draft, instead joining his basketball team for one last run at a national championship. Had it been today's era, teams would have lined up to have a player as decorated as Ward, and I personally think he would have been a better quarterback than point guard. He always has been.
NFL made a decision that I wasn't committed 100% to the NFL.
Stunt number 2, lack of development.
Every morning we would go to work on my skills and those types of things, because that's what I was lacking, because I wasn't a true basketball player.
Charlie Ward said it himself that it was physically and mentally draining playing multiple sports, as many think being in shape and in the right frame of mind in one sport means a smoother transition for another, when it could be just the opposite. Those short bursts of action in football can no way get a player ready for a basketball season. He says he does believe playing football and basketball hindered his potential development, not solely focusing on one, and it makes total sense. Imagine the player Charlie could have been had he only focused on football, get the treatment, reps, and rest he needed after the season, instead of ramping it up to be ready for another going on at the same time. Or the player he could have been as a point guard, first for Florida State and then in the NBA. At State, Ward wasn't exactly putting out the same production comparable to what he was doing on the field. Obviously, he was a great passer with elite vision, but it takes focus and sole dedication to be really good at one thing, much less multiple. Like Charlie Ward, one will suffer. He didn't average at least 10 points until his senior season, which landed on exactly 10.5 points a game, 4.9 assists, slightly underwhelming for a guy known as a great passer, and didn't shoot the ball great from deep or the foul line when that's needed as a guard. Because of football, he also missed games his junior and senior years, not even making the tournament as a senior. Charlie was still great as an athlete and highly respected for having the motor to do what he did dual sport, but I can only imagine what could have been as far as development with the right focus on one. Stunt number 3, settled for the NBA.
Came down to me really being committed to being a senior guard on our basketball team.
As if that's such a bad landing spot, right? But for Charlie, I think he wanted to be an NFL quarterback. Had the NFL gave a hint, they would have taken him not just in the first round, but as a top 10 pick like his accomplishments deserved, he would have gladly played football over basketball. Of course, after going undrafted, there's no other mindset but to fully immerse yourself into your fallback sport, and that's what Charlie did. For 11 years, he was solid, even played a starting point guard role on some of the most competitive Knicks teams in the 90s. But I still think him being drafted in the first round in the NBA, with the unflattering stats he put out in college, was kind of a consolation prize and a great sports story that could go down in history, more than deserving a clear first-round draft pick. During his NBA career, Ward never averaged more than 8.7 points a game and 4 assists. Amazingly, with sole focus now on hoops though, he became known as a pretty good shooter over the years, making the semifinals of the three-point shootout at '98's All-Star Weekend. He was fortunate to have the chance to settle on a plan B like the NBA, but still I believe the world missed a chance to see a Hall of Fame NFL quarterback. All in all, Charlie Ward isn't talked about enough. He's soft-spoken and usually stays to his business as a coach after his playing days, but what he was able to do has never been done before or since, making his experiences as an athlete unique to only him. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.